All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? Thank you again, all of you, for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule. My name is Jeff Lampe. I am Vice President of Marketing at Crescent Electric Supply Company. On behalf of the team at Crescent, as well as the team at Eaton, we're excited to have you join us today. Before we get started, I just wanted to run through a couple of quick housekeeping items. All of the attendee lines have been muted, so you're able to hear us and able to hear the presenters, but we cannot hear you. But that doesn't mean we don't want to take your questions or interact with you or field your comments or address anything that might be on your mind as we go through this webcast with our partners from Eaton today. So what I encourage you to do is utilize the Q&A feature within your Zoom browser. Go ahead and send your questions along to us, and we've budgeted plenty of time at the end to get through each and every one of those for you. Also, as I mentioned earlier, this webcast is being recorded, so we will make it available to all of the attendees to review afterwards, so you have the content and the information readily available. So with that, without any further ado, I am excited to pass it over to our first presenter today, Jerry Feldmeier, the Regional Drive Sales Manager for the Central Region at Eaton. Jerry?
Thank you very much, Jeff. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to have a chance to work with us and talk with us about VFDs. So I'd like to introduce our speakers first, and I'm going to start with Raj. So Raj, can you say a little something about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to present our Eaton drives to you and some of the applications. My name is Rajnarayanan, and I just joined recently, end of January at Eaton as an Open Drives product manager. And you can see my product lines include the DG1s, DH1, DM1, and also I'm the product manager for the soft starters. And my previous experience is mostly on drives and drive systems. I started with a company in India that became Rockwell Automation India, worked on project engineering management on drive systems, and I had a lot of experience with rolling mills, pulp and paper, and HVAC and similar applications. And then that company, once it became Rockwell, I worked with them, came to the US for a large project, and I went back to India and then worked there. Then I went to Australia to do my master's, continued with Rockwell as a support engineer. Then when I came back, I started with, I worked with Emerson Control Techniques in Atlanta and Minneapolis. I was there at different roles, but the significant one was the product manager for the general purpose drives, which is very similar to the role I'm doing right now. Briefly, I worked for a communications company, B&B Electronics, as a product manager too, in the Ethernet to serial and wireless. And my last position was with Rockwell Automation in their drive systems and solutions business as a project manager. Yeah, I have a master's degree in business as well as on engineering. And my work location is Menominee Falls. I live in Naperville, Illinois. Here is my family, basically originally from India, relocated to United States in 2000. A lot of sports. Sports means not playing, but love to watch games and listen to music. That's what I am. And I am looking forward to working with you folks in the coming years, months, days, whatever. Jerry?
Yep, thank you. I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. So my name is Jerry Feldmeier, and I am the Regional Sales Manager. I have 11 states I cover, which are primarily in the central portion of the United States. And I've been with Eaton 25 years, a lot of different roles, everything from product development to marketing and a few other things in between. So a really diverse career path. They've been very generous with me. I came out of University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee back in 1990 with a mechanical engineering degree and promptly went into electrical work. So it's kind of an interesting choice of careers. So it's been working with electronics my whole life, so I guess it wasn't unusual. And from a hobby standpoint, love spending time with my family, and this COVID has really given me a chance to do that. And I've always been an athlete, so running, biking, swimming. This is actually my finish at a race a couple of years ago, and love camping, so love being outdoors. So we're going to jump right in, and we really have a very compressed agenda. We're going to just kind of go over what the products are, and then Raj is going to spend some time going over 2 applications, and then we're going to finish up with just a single slide, really talking about the kind of sales tools that we have available to really help you apply these products. So the 2 main products that we want to talk about are going to be our machine level drive as well as our industrial drive. So our machine drive is the PowerXL DM1. And we actually have this in 2 different flavors. So one of them is designed, for kind of like that high run OEM, where you're going to be making something over and over and over again. So you don't need a keypad. You're going to mount it. You're going to hook up your computer. You're going to push the program into it, and it just does its thing. And then we have another version of that has a keypad that's on it. And so you can program it, you can monitor it, you can run it all from the keypad. So from a functionality standpoint, they both do the same thing. They both can run induction motors or permanent magnet motors. They both have this wonderful algorithm called active energy control, which can save you between 2 and 10% energy savings on your variable torque loads, your pumps and fans. The DM1 does have some built-in communications. The DM1 Pro then will allow you to stick option cards into it for additional communications. The DM1 does not carry a safe torque off. If you want that, we have to move up to the DM1 Pro, and that's going to be your SIL 2 category. Both of them do have Bluetooth though, which is really nice. So you can connect up with a laptop, for example, and you can monitor it, access to web pages, as well as program it. And we have a common programming environment called InControl, which is going to allow you to not only program and monitor and configure the DM1 or the DM1 Pro, but also will allow you to do the exact same thing with our flagship DG1, which is our industrial drive. So this DM1 series has 4 frame sizes that goes up to 25 horsepower. It's a constant torque rated drive. So that's 25 horsepower constant torque, so your conveyor belts and augers and things like that, which will do a 30 horsepower variable torque pumper fan. And we have this in a 120 volt and a 230 volt single phase. So it allows you to come in with a single phase voltage and then go out with a 3-phase. And we also have your standard, which is your 230, your 480, and your 575, 3 in, 3 out. So a wide range of voltages, a wide range of horsepowers, and really just chock full, way too many features for me to talk about on one slide. So from a standpoint of how you're going to interface with this product, there's a lot of different choices. So obviously we talked about Bluetooth before. So what's really nice is now I don't have to physically touch the product. So from an NFPA 70E standpoint, you can now get within Bluetooth range. You can connect up your laptop to it. You can do your firmware updates. You can register the product, and you can do configuration and monitoring. It does have a web server built into it, so it's and we are supporting your cybersecurity needs. So you'll have to log into the web server to access the data within the drive and configure it. We also have an IoT in here as well. So we have something called PX Green, and it's this Eaton-wide platform for communications and how we how that device is then displayed up through the IoT. So this is something that we have built into this device as well. From a communication standpoint, We have Modbus serial and BACnet MSTP, and that's going to be on both of them. And then if you need to move up into going into, for example, like Ethernet IP or some of the Ethernet protocols, the DM1 Pro will get you there. The communication cards, so we do have a communication protocol called SmartWire DT, and what's nice about that is it's a way to simplify the network. So it's a Eaton. It actually is an open protocol, but Eaton supports most of the products on it. It allows us to connect things like our PLCs, our push buttons, lights, and a number of other types of devices, including drives, onto this very quick, really wire-reducing network. So it allows you to link a lot of things together without having to use discrete I/O and analog I/O. And we also carry from an option Profibus DP, and then we also have CAN Open on it. So a lot of really great features from a connectivity standpoint. So it's really designed that this product can talk to not only any PLC or the cloud or web server, but it can also be utilized in a HVAC application through your BMS, or access it right through your app, right through your IoT. We do as well have an enclosed offering, and this will be our PowerXL DG1, our general purpose industrial drive. This as well is a constant torque rated device. And we have this ranging in the 230 volts up to through 250 horsepower, and our 460 and 575 up to 800 horsepower. We can do single phase on this, so we can come in at single phase and go out 3 phase. It does do a phase conversion. You can do that with or without an external capacitor kit. We do have this standalone in a NEMA Type 1 or a NEMA Type 12 offering, and then it can be enclosed in a 112, 3R, 4x as well. So a lot of different packages for that. And from a standpoint of what this drive can do, it's your typical volts per hertz, but it can also do centralist vector. So if you need to have tighter speed control, it has a lot of onboard I/O. So it has 8 digital inputs, 2 analog in, 2 analog out, and 3 relays. And those relays are 240 volt rated 5 amp relays. So they're very heavy duty relays. And then if you need options to go out to maybe AC inputs or get RTDs or things like that, then there's option cards you can add to it as well. It does have a 100 kA short circuit rating paired with a specific group of breakers or fuses that's in our catalog. Anything we sell will be 100 kA if it's packaged. And once again, we have that programming environment which will allow you to utilize the in control to go in and communicate with this product. So from a standpoint, we kind of talked about this. The terminal blocks are removable, which is nice, and they're keyed, so that makes it real easy from a service standpoint as well as just a troubleshooting standpoint. And we do have a removable EMC screw in it. So if you're going to go into like a high resistance ground or a corner grounded Delta system, you can now remove the EMC screw very easily. Just one screw to remove, and now it works on your IT system. We do have 4 different applications, and this is really nice from a standpoint that sometimes drives can be very daunting with the number of parameters in them. So what we'll do is we'll create applications which will kind of pair out parameters that you really don't use, and we'll make it a lot easier to program. So we have a standard application, and that's going to be your pump, your fan, just anything that's kind of I'm going to say just more than run of the mill, but it's I would say 90% of your applications. But then we have this wonderful application called multi-pump, multi-fan, where now I can stick multiple of these drives, tie them all together, have them all run pumps or fans, and then I can do lead lag with pressure control and some really neat features with that. It does have a PID, actually has 2 PID loops in it. And then we have one where you just take the gloves off and we give you access to all 900 parameters and it's just completely configurable. So what's really nice about this drive is it's really loaded up from a communication standpoint. You have onboard Ethernet, which is going to be your Ethernet IP for your control objects, as well as your Modbus TCP. We also have Modbus serial and BACnet MSTP. From an Ethernet IP standpoint, we also do have on our website for you to use what's called add-on instructions, which will allow you to add that device into your ControlLogix platform. Once again, this has active energy control for the pump and fan energy savings. All of our boards are conformal coated, and that's not only this one, but also the DM1, which just does wonders from an environment standpoint. This one has a 5% DC link choke built into it. It also has a safe torque off built into it. It's a SIL category 1. It has a very high temperature rating. We can derate this up to 60 degrees C, so that's something that's kind of unusual in this frame or this class of drive. We do have a cold weather feature. This is a really nice feature if you're going to take a NEMA 3R, especially up here in the north, where you're going to have something that's going to be outdoors or on a roof. So now we can guarantee that the drive will start down to -30 centigrade. It can actually go lower, but we'll guarantee a start down that low. We do put brake choppers into each one of these units, so our frame 3 or 40 horsepower and below are going to have a brake chopper standard, and that can then be added at the higher units. It's an all metal conduit plate, so you can see on the bottom where the holes where the conduits come in. Very robust, rugged conduit plate. It may not be the easiest to see, but there's a plate that goes over those 9 terminals at the bottom. So that's going to separate any of your higher voltage, so your 230, 460, 575, from your lower voltage, which will be up where the yellow circle is, which will be all your 24 volts. And another great feature with this, and this is wonderful in the water wastewater space, is that if you use an input isolation contactor, you can actually power the control board from an external power supply, which keeps the communications active. So then you can trigger that external contactor from an input standpoint over communications to power up the power section of the drive. So a lot, once again, way too many features to have in one slide, but just wanted to give you a little understanding of some of the features of this particular product. So what we're going to do now is Raj is going to talk to us about 2 different applications. And if there are any questions that you have, obviously type them into the chat box, and then we'll take care of that as we move forward, okay?
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry. Again, I'm going to talk to you about 2 applications, one for a variable torque, for a irrigator application, and the next one will be a constant torque. And this one is a center pivot, irrigation system where the single phase can be either, here it is a 460, but don't feel if your motor is 230, we can still work with derate our drives and get it to you for a 3-phase motor application. And in this case, it is a submersible pump. We have configured, and then it is a variable torque load application for this pump application. And the drive has some inherent features that is pretty useful for an application like this. It has a pump fill application. We'll talk about it. It's for priming when there is no water in the pipes and to avoid the water hammering. The second one, it can generate 2-stage motor starts. We'll talk about it too in the coming slides. Dry well protection to protect the pump in case of dry running. There is an inherent feature built in, and it also broken pipe protection to avoid the flooding in the fields. We have a feature built in the drive. Of course, Jerry talked about the IoT feature where you can remote monitor through web or your PDA or a phone. And the cold weather mode is also one of the features that will help with this application during the winter months or the fall. Next slide, please. And since it is an outdoor application, we there are various flavors of enclosed panel options available. And this is a start pump panel that we are showing the drive, the switch gear, everything packaged, and it is stocked. So basically, if you order, most of the drives are in stock, and then they can ship pretty quick to your customers. And the cellular IoT is we'll talk about it in case there are several customers that personally drive to the field and then see if the pump is running on every day. And you can avoid that by using this cellular IoT feature, and you can have it in your palm with your phone. You can see whether the drive is healthy or not. And this one is a 3R construction, and panel mount surge protection is also part of this enclosed drive. Okay, and each one you can you can configure the part and then order, and most of them are stocked. And the application solution, we talked about two-stage pump start. Initially to the fast accelerate to have the speed or any predefined speed, and after that slow ramp. That is used more in pump applications or submersible pumps. And if there is a derag, if there is sometimes you are stuck with large debris, and in order to clear the debris, you can configure the drive to do a derag function, whether at the start it can just reverse and then start, so it clears the debris, or during the running you can configure it like whenever it stucks and then stalls due to a debris, it can reverse and then restart. That derag function is part of the drive feature. And safeties for loss of prime. In case of drive running, the pump fails if you let it run for a long time. So there are preset underload values, underload time, and then it sees, once the drive sees that there is no load for a particular duration of time, you can either send an alarm or you can shut the drive off to protect the pump. And configure the IoTs is a thing like the drives are connected to a web, can be connected to the web, and we have an IoT all over so you can see some of the drive parameters, whether it is running status, if there are any errors, you can see it in your mobile device or in a web screen. And there is annual subscription available, and it's really handy. It's not that prohibitively expensive. It is pretty affordable, and that is some feature that several customers are choosing these drives in order to remote monitor their pump status, and and even to control. Next slide, please, Jerry. There is a cold weather function in case the motor, the ambient becomes cold. The motors will have, in order to start the motors, we have a feature within the drive that preheats both the drive, the heat sinks, and also the motor by applying a small DC current for a small duration of time during the and that is perfectly safe for the VFD and the motor. And in that way, it brings up the temperature and starts the pump motor. And we talked about single phase input application. Most of the irrigation customers, they do not have 3-phase. No issues. We can connect a single phase to our 3-phase drives, derate them, and then control 3-phase motor. So we have that phase loss protection disable function available for such applications. And set up pipe fill. So these pump drives usually are constant pressure regulated for normal application. So if there is a PID within the drive, we can use that and avoid the external PID controllers, and it saves both the cost and space. And one of the things is like if you use that during the start when there is the pipes are not primed yet, it will try to run the pump at a full higher speed and leading to pump hammering. But so there is a primer function available, so it disables the PID function for a particular duration, and it pre-fills the pipes at slower speeds for a certain duration, and then you can have 2-stage again filling, just like shown inside in the graph below to the right bottom. And then once the pipes are filled, then bring in the PID control for your pressure regulation. that feature is a built-in available. It's easily configurable within the drive. Next one, Jerry. Then I'm going to talk to you about the agitator application, agitator, mixer, blender, those type of applications. And this drive, both the DG1s and DM1s, they are dual rated. So you can select them for a variable torque application, or you can use the same drive for constant torque application with 150% overload for a minute and 200% for a couple of seconds. So this is a constant torque application, as mentioned at this slide. And most of the blenders, mixers, the viscosity of the fluid or the contents that they mixture that change with the time, but the application requirement is to maintain a constant torque or constant power. So when the viscosity is low, the pumps will, or the impeller will run faster, and when it becomes low, the fluid becomes thicker, it will automatically regulate. The PID will regulate to run the pump or the impeller slower. Sorry. And so there is a PID control. That is what is being used, and I'll tell you how it is set up in order to do this. And we also have torque limit supervision, stall protection. All the features are built in both the drives, or most of our drives. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Obviously, we have this. You select one of the DG1 or DM1 proper rated drive, and these drives have the safe torque off. From the tank control panel, you can enable the safe torque off or disable it, and then use that for a protection. Digital, the start stop can be either through digital inputs or by field bus, and the analog and the feedback or the set points can be both by analog or field bus. One thing is, since these applications are constant torque, the drive has a feature, the vector control, flux vector control within the drive. It offers higher torque even at low speeds or zero speed. So it is a perfect drive for your constant torque application for these type of mixer blender applications. The next slide, please. Next slide, please, Jerry. So in this application, how do you use it? There is a PID that is available, and you can use that to control the motor speed. And the feedback, the set point, and here it is a torque set point, so you bring the horsepower set point. So you set it through either analog input or through field bus, but you bring in your torque feedback or your horsepower feedback into the drive through so you have to wire an analog output, map it to the torque feedback or your horsepower feedback, and then bring it to analog input, and that becomes the PID feedback, and the motor speed is automatically adjusted based on the PID gains that we set for the PID. And it is the PID wizard is that helps you for an easy setup. And so it will also even ask you where the set point is coming from. You can configure it, and what is the range of the process variable, whether it is 0 to 100% or in units, and set the process units in percentage, and then it automatically controls the motor speed or the impeller speed to make sure that the torque is constant. And if there is a motor stall, and there is a feature to protect the motor and the drive, that the drive senses if the motor stalls at a stall current that is presettable for a duration, it can either give you a flag or stop the motor. So you can free up the impeller, make sure everything is okay, then you restart the motor. And you can connect the safe torque off or safety stop, and so that as per the STO standards, the drive disconnects and protects anybody who is going to troubleshoot and work on the motor. Next one, please. And the application, how do you set up? Again, set up torque supervision, and there is an electronic shear pin. In case the motor torque exceeds a particular value, you can, the drive can take an action. whether it is a fault indication or whether it is to do something like a trip. So instead of the self-monitoring capability within the drive, you can make sure that that the torque is sensed and then take a necessary action in order to protect your application or alert the user or maintenance team. And the PID wizard, it is shown here, and the gain P, obviously it has three gains, P, I, and D, and the set point comes for the torque level or a horsepower level, and then the output, feedback output, is wired back through the analog input, and then it comes to the drive, and that becomes the PA, the input. The error is amplified, regulated by the P and I and D gains, and then it controls. And there is a feed forward mechanism also that in order to enable this, the output till the feedback comes, then it controls the motor speed in order to maintain the constant torque. Next one, I think, yeah. Next is, I'll let Jerry take over from here.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.
So from a standpoint of the different types of tools that we have available, the main one is really going to be what's on our website. So we have a general drives website called www.eaton.com/drives, and it gets you to every drive that we make. It also gets you to our aftermarket and service support and commissioning and everything else, some training. So it's a really great resource. But from a standpoint of these drives specifically, you can type in eaton.com/DG1 or DM1, and it'll take you directly to those particular web pages. Harmonics is really becoming a hot ticket right now. So for those of you that are concerned about harmonics, or maybe just want to learn a little bit more about harmonics, we do have a website, and this is going to be a bit more Eaton wide. So this will have other Eaton types of products in it as well. And it's going to be www.eaton.com/harmonics. There'll be some great training presentations in there as well as product solutions. So this is something from a VFD standpoint. VFDs create a lot of harmonics. So this is something that, as you're moving more and more of your loads to these switch mode power supplies, these VFDs, it's good to understand what the impact is going to be as far as transformer sizing, harmonic mitigation, and maybe some of the negative side effects that harmonics can have on you. We also have on the sales side some brochures. So this is just some of them, but everything from the open to the enclosed types of products to our IoT and our pump panels. So we have some really informative documents around that. We have a really nice document that walks through our entire family as well, and it'll allow you to really take a look at an application and make a decision and say, for this type of an application, really these are the maybe one or two different types of drives that I'm going to be looking at to solve that particular problem. From a channel standpoint and some very specific customers, we have a software tool called Bid Manager, which allows you to really build up and configure any drive, and it'll give you pricings and bill of materials and drawings. So it's a really nice tool. You have access to people like myself. So if you're in a different part of the country, for example, maybe you're somewhere down south or out east or out west, there's people like me, regional sales managers, that are able to come out and assist Crescent, for example, to either from a promotion or from a training standpoint, or from be it that maybe something really went wrong and you really need to talk to someone at Eaton. I can be that person. And then from a standpoint of the types of products that we have a fairly large warehouse in in South Carolina. It's called W34. And that warehouse not only has all the other products that Eaton makes, but it also carries a wide range and volume of VFDs that you can also purchase directly from our website, or I'm sorry, directly from our warehouse, and then get within a very short period of time. This is traditionally going to be non-configured products, so it's going to be the open product. So you need a DM1 or a DG1 or SVX or whatever types of products that we have, push buttons, lights, starters. You can buy those individual open type of devices right from our warehouse. They ship within a day or two, and then they show up and you can utilize them. If you want something configured, then it gets built over in Watertown, Wisconsin, and we put it inside the gray box or the white box, and then we ship it out to your site. So if there are any questions, this does conclude our TechXpert. So if there's any questions, now's a great time to bring them up, and we can discuss them with you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jerry. We actually do have a couple of questions that have come through. The first one is, does the new DM1 use the same software as the DG1?
That is good, because you think about it and you're out of the job site, or maybe you're inside of, you're an OEM or whatever it might be, and you're configuring products. And, last thing you want to do is have to have one program for one drive and another program for another drive. So what we've been doing is consolidating all of our newer developed products into what's called In Control. So under the In Control, we're going to have the DG1, we're going to have the DM1, we're also going to have our advanced motor overload relay and a few other types of products that are all going to be able to be programmed from that environment. And like the advanced overload relay has a logic engine inside of it, so you're able to configure the logic engine right from that same programming environment. So great question.
All right, just a reminder, if anyone has additional questions, we've got a couple more that we'll get to in a moment. But again, as a reminder for the attendees, you can utilize the Q&A feature within the Zoom browser to send us any questions, comments, or feedback if you'd like, and we will share them before we conclude. Jared, a couple more questions for you and Raj. This next one says, do both drives offer the copy-paste keypad programming feature?
That is so valuable. I know customers that use that all the time. So the keypad, for example, on the DG1, it may not be obvious, but it is removable. And so you can go and you can program the DG1. So for example, maybe you have a system where you have 5 pumps, and they're all 25 horsepower, and they're all going to be utilizing the same analog or network control. So you can go in and get one of those pumps lined out, upload all the parameters to the keypad, and then go to the other pumps and download either the entire program, so that's every parameter, or you can just download the application. So it would leave things alone, like the network, for example. That would be something you'd have to configure later. So last thing you want to do is have 2 drives with the same IP address. That obviously isn't very good. So, then that would be something you have to program after you've pushed the program down into it. But yes, we can do copy and paste on that. And when it comes to the DM1, the DM1 does have a port in it that you can plug in an external keypad, which will allow you to utilize this same DG1 keypad in that environment. So you can upload it to that keypad, take it to the next drive, and download it. But really, from a standpoint of the DM1, that's really where the web pages come in. So that allows you to save everything to an offline file, go to the very next drive, and then upload that file back into the new drive. So from a web aspect, that's really, the best way to do it, the simplest, because that's available on both of them. The DM1 Pro is the only one that can accept an external keypad.
All right. One final question for you. What drives are available in an enclosure?
That's important to know because from a standpoint of all of our industrial products, those are all able to be placed inside of a steel box at Watertown, Wisconsin. The family of machine level drives, which are traditionally an OEM type of a product, those don't offer the ability to be packaged in a steel box because that's assumed it's going to be sold to an integrator or some other type of a user that's going to place it within their larger assembly. So it may have a PLC in it and some starter motor control and maybe some other type of logic and buttons and lights and all sorts of things. And the drive is just part of it. So in the case of the DM1, that's only an open product. It does come in a NEMA Type 1 offering though, which means it does offer a conduit kit. So it is something you can mount on the wall and you can conduit in and out of it. And it is safe to be utilized in that manner. But it does not come in an option which we put it inside of a steel box with a disconnect and other types of products. That's really up to the user to do, primarily because this is a machine level OEM style drive.
All right, that concludes the Q&A session. So before we wrap up, though, let me turn it over to John Gordon on the Crescent side. John?
Thanks, Jeff. And thanks, Jerry and Raj, too. This is a very informative presentation. Thanks a lot. I'm John Gordon. I'm the Industrial Sales Manager for Crescent Electric. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending this Eaton VFD webinar. Please reach out to your local branch or account manager for any more information that you may have or need on the drives and soft start families. They'll connect you with our advanced team of application engineers and our Application Support Center. Our Tech Support Center is one of the unique qualities that we have a team of engineers that can help you with anything, any of your industrial control and automation needs. Some of the things that we can help you with the drives consist of application questions, competitive conversions, on-site demos, up to and including full VFD commissioning training. This VFD commissioning training allows you to do certified startups. And for those of you that are OEMs, it adds another year of warranty to your drives. So you go from a 2-year warranty to a 3-year warranty, which is industry leading. And then if you are you're an EC or an integration house, it actually adds a billable service for you to offer as well. So please reach out to your local team and they'll get you in touch with all of our industrial experts. We're also stocking DG1s up to 150 horsepower in key locations. So please let us know if you have any immediate needs as well. Again, thank you for attending, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
All right, thank you very much, John. And that concludes today's webcast. As we mentioned, we will be recording this and we'll be pushing it out to those that attended, as well as for those that signed up and weren't able to attend. So feel free to share the recording as well with any of your colleagues. But again, on behalf of the team at Eaton and the team at Crescent Electric Supply, this is Jeff Lampe. Have a great rest of your day.